All right, in this lesson, we're going to learn about one of my favorite exercises to do with athletes, and it's called the 5 things. Now, this is actually an exercise that was designed for people that are having panic attacks and to help stop the panic attack, but it works really fantastic for athletes that are feeling a little bit anxious or a little bit overwhelmed by stress in a competition or a training setting. So it's a very simple exercise. The hardest part is actually remembering how to do it. But the actual exercise, what I want you to do right now is I want you to think of, we're going to identify 5 objects for each of our 5 senses. So 5 things we can see, 5 things we can hear, 5 things we can smell, 5 things you can taste, and 5 things you can touch. Now, some of them might be a little bit strange or a little bit difficult depending on what situation you're in, but when you go through that process, and the order of what of the 5 senses you go through doesn't really matter. I like to do 5 things you can see, 5 things you can hear, 5 things you can touch, then smell, and then finish with taste. And usually by the time you get to taste, you probably don't need 5, because finding in a competition, when you're in a game or a tournament, trying to find 5 things you can taste in the moment is probably not very realistic and probably not something you're going to be able to do. But, so right now, sitting where you are, watching this video, what I want you to do is look around you and find 5 things that you can see. Now, it might be a chair, it might be something on the roof, whatever it might be, but the key things to remember, because probably when you just pick your 5 things right now, you probably pick 5 generic things, you know, like I said, like a chair, a pencil, whatever it might be. But what this really works is the more specific you go. So instead of just saying, oh, I'm looking at a chair, look at the seam or the stitching on the chair. If you're looking on the floor, look for a piece of fuzz or a specific part of the carpet. The more detailed, the better. So you're gonna pick 5 things that you can see, all very specific and different details. And the other common mistake that a lot of people make with this exercise, they keep their field of vision straight forward, looking straight forward. Look all around, full 360, up, down, left, right, even behind you. The more unique, the more different, the more your eyes have to actually shift their focus, the better this exercise is going to work. So we got 5 things you can see. Then we're going to do 5 things that we can hear. So just sitting where you are, listen for 5 different sounds. So now right now you might be able to hear my voice. Maybe you can hear some air conditioning or some outside mumbling of voices or noises that might be going on. But again, you want to pick 5 very unique and distinct sounds that you can be listening to. So you might have to be a little bit creative. You might even need to create the sound. Maybe you're rubbing your hands together or shuffling your feet or moving in a chair. You can make the sounds, that's fantastic, but 5 different and unique sounds. All right, so we got 5 things we can see, 5 things we can touch, or sorry, we did 5 things we can see, 5 things we can hear. Now we're gonna do 5 things that we can touch. So with the 5 things we can touch, if you just are sitting in a chair and you touch 5 things around you, what most people tend to do is it might be the wall, it might be a book, it might be the table, chair leg, something like that. The texture of these 5 things is probably all the same. It's all probably smooth and flat. But when you do this, it's very, very important that you pick things that have a very unique and distinct texture. So again, with all these 5 things that we're doing, these 5 different senses, every single item needs to be distinct and unique. So we got 5 things we can touch. So when we're touching things, it might be, okay, I can feel the texture of my ring on my finger. Hair is a great one. Anything that's organic, like a plant, an animal, fur is fantastic for this. You know, in my office where I work with athletes, I have a big cement pillar. So touching the cement or something that's really big and solid that has unique texture on it, these are all fantastic items to choose. So the more unique you pick it, the better. I actually had an athlete once who had a keychain, and on their keychain they put 5 things that they could touch, 5 things they could see, all different unique items, all unique different textures. They even had some hand sanitizer and some fragrant keychain of some sort. So it incorporated all of those senses. So again, right now you've done 5 things you can see, 5 things you can hear, and 5 things you can touch. The next one's going to get a little bit stranger, but we're going to start doing 5 things that we can smell. Now, depending where you are, you may not be able to do 5 of things that you can smell, but if you can try and get at least 2 or 3, it's pretty good. So sometimes it might be just like, okay, you can smell your hands, and if you've washed your hands, something like that, you'll smell the soap. It might be, okay, I can smell the soap or the fabric softener in your clothing, right? Maybe there's some food around, you're going to smell the food. Even just the air of the area that you're in, it's all going to have unique smells. If you're a hockey player and you're at a rink and you breathe in, every rink has a little bit of a distinct smell to it, whether it's older, newer, there's a concession sort of wafting, French fry smell down into the rink. Whatever it might be, there's going to be unique smells. So the more unique they are, the better this is going to work. Which then brings us into the weirdest and strangest one of all, 5 things that you can taste. Now, it might just be your saliva. Maybe you have a drink, Gatorade, BioSteel, whatever, drink of choice you might have in front of you. You can taste that. So again, we don't want to just have like 5 sips of the same drink. We want to have 5 unique flavors that we can taste. And the more unique they are, the more engaged your brain becomes. And so you can just think, we've been doing this for a few moments right now, but in those moments, you're probably not thinking about sport, you're not thinking about school, you're not thinking about training, you're not thinking about anything else except for all the weird things that I'm making you do with your five senses right now. And that's the whole point of this exercise, is just getting you to engage in the moment and not get stuck in our head. This idea is like sort of like putting the brakes on your brain. You know, if we're in a car, we're on icy conditions, we hit the gas too fast, our wheels spin. All right, we spin on, we don't really go anywhere. We kind of just fishtail left to right. And that's what happens in our brain and our body when we get really anxious. Our mind just starts racing. You probably have experiences where your mind is going super fast. Well, by doing the five things, we're putting the brakes on our brain, getting us to stop so that we can, oh, hey, back in the moment, now I can make the right decision to either perform better on your sport that you're trying to do, or to utilize the right mental skill to have a little bit better success. So next time you're feeling a little bit anxious, try and utilize the five things to help you. Now, the hardest part, it's not hard to actually engage in the five things. Five things you can see, five things you can hear, touch, etc. Remembering to do it is the hard part. So when you're stressed out, when that adrenaline's coming high, and that animal brain that we've talked about, or that lizard and animal brain like we talked about before is really kicking in, well, we need a reminder to actually engage in the five things. So what I love having athletes do on your water bottle, just put a piece of tape with like 5T on it. Or somewhere on your gear. If you're a hockey player, write 5T on your stick or somewhere on your glove. Anywhere where you might see it during regular play. So if you're a soccer player, maybe you need to write on an armband or somewhere on your hand. Just 5T. No one's going to know what it is. You're just going to put 5T. So when you're looking at, maybe you're looking at yourself or looking at your gear, you have that reminder. And every time you see it, even when you're not feeling anxious in the beginning, because we're going to practice this, even when you're not feeling it, you're going to engage doing those five things. So next time you're in training, specifically try and set aside some time every few moments or every time there's a break in the play. Try and do the five things. No one's going to really notice what you're doing because, depending on where you are, you can be pretty creative and find five things you can touch or see, etc. No one's going to even know that you're doing it. But the more you practice it, the better your body's going to respond and the more calm and grounded you're going to feel after doing that exercise.